Welcome back, everyone, to Unconditional Surrender, designed by Salvatore Vasta, published by GMT Games. This is the Me, Myself, and I playthrough of the main event, I'm Dren 608, and when we left off last time, it was the end of the Axis operations phase of July 1940. So we will be passing into the Western factions operations phase. And if you survey France, things are beyond terrible. The French have a very slim outside chance of hanging on for one more turn. I will try and play them that way. It's going to require many bad die rolls by the Germans. So I don't think it will happen, but at least we'll last on until August and see if we can't cause some consternation. So the first thing that the Western Allies need to do is they have to abandon some of the Maginot Line forts to try and get Dijon back. So we're going to activate the 5th Army, have it leave its fort, and it will move 1, 2 across the river, 3, 4 across this river, and then 5, 6, 7, leaving it with 1 movement point, attacking Dijon. The reason why I do this is if I have to abandon Metz, or probably Metz, to try and attack again, then Maginot Fort that's next to Metz, that unit can actually move into Metz because I would be moving into a different zone of control. So I'd at least have a unit in Metz, and then I would have a chance. I have 3 chances here to take Dijon. It's kind of critical that I at least regain that city to get back some willpower. I think the Germans can end up taking it all back without too much trouble, but we need to try. So, with that stated, we will go into the attack here. Normally the French would be +1, the Italians are a 0. They have no modifier. We have to subtract 1 because we're attacking a city, so it really comes down to a straight die roll. If you look at the faction cards, we don't have anything left to add, and all the air is spent to 6 sorties. So, let's see how we do here. The French attack with a die roll of 4, and the Italians roll also a 4. A 4 to a 4 is a diamond. Anytime the numbers match, it's usually a diamond, from what I've seen. So, the Italians hold for this first turn. So that means the French have to take even more chances, which means it's less likely that this is going to work. So the next thing they're going to do is activate the 4th Army, or build point, and then they will move it 1, 2 to 3218, and then they will attack. That will leave them with 3 movement points, because it's 2 to move there, 3 to attack the city. 2 for the city, 1 for the unit. And it's the same attack. It's a straight die roll. So the French roll here a 4 again, and the Italians roll a 3. And a 4 to a 3 is a diamond, so that's, again, nothing happening. The French will spend their last 3, their last desperate attempt here, to win through this and attack Dijon. French roll a 3, and the Italians roll a 1. So it took 3 attacks, but a 3 to a 1 is a defender retreat, so the Italians must retreat. The Italians only have 2 choices here. I'll just retreat. I'm going to leave space for the Germans to be able to attack that space. So I will retreat to 30, what is that, 3317. And the 4th Army will recapture Dijon, giving the French back 2 will points. Now they must spend another production point to try and protect, what is this, Metz. So the unit in 3017, that fort that I was so proudly holding on to, will activate, and it will move 1 because of the river line into the hex of Metz. Cannot go back into the fort because it just came out of a fort. And that's, well, it could attack that German unit if it wanted to. Could attack the 10th for kicks. The Germans would be +2. I'd be 0. No, I'm not going to do that. That's very bad. The Germans would be +2 and I would be at 0 because I'd be attacking to a forest. So we won't do that. Now we will have to spend 2 more to activate the 1st. And he will have to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into Vichy. Like I said, this is a long shot in the dark, and I don't even think, I'm pretty sure that the Germans will find a way to bust through this, unless they roll like 12 ones in a row in their combats. The next up is I activate the 1st North African, which is where the fleet and the convoy are stacked. So we're going to take the whole lot. They go 1 into 17. I'm going to zoom out to make my movement by sea a little bit easier. 1's into 17, 2 is into 16, 3 is into 7, 4 is into 10, and then they will, for no movement points. Now the Germans could, they technically could go ahead and try and do an intercept here with their naval. Oh no, they used their surface action. It's not back yet. Never mind. I can't because I don't have it available yet. It's coming back in, is it next turn? Yeah, I won't have it until August. So the French get away with these moves without any problem. So it's 4 into Sea Zone 10 here. I can move into Le Havre with them for no movement points. Doesn't cost anything to move into a port. So they will move in there and drop off the French North African. That ends his turn. But I still have 6 movement points left. So then I will go 5 back into Sea Zone. Oh, jeez. Give me a break. 5 into Sea Zone 7. 6 back into Sea Zone 16. 7 into Sea Zone 17. 8 into Sea Zone 19. The Italians could invade here, or could try to intercept here from Tripoli. I think I'm going to need my fleets in the future for fighting off Force H, so I'm going to let the French just go do whatever they're going to do. And they will land in Tunis. Right? Tunis is a port. Yes, it is. So they will land in Tunis. And then they have to take sorties. The convoy gets a sortie. The fleet goes up 1. And then we will spend another point here to activate this 1st North African garrison unit. Here's my French build points. So the French are down to 9 now. Oh, by the way, I did notice that I forgot to take off the Marseille factory from the French, so you'll notice they're now at 5, like they should be. I totally blanked on the fact that Marseille is not just a 2-point will point loss, but also a factory. So I actually have Marseille, Paris, and Lille as captured factories at this point. So the French will only have 10 production points next turn. Right now they're at 9 because they activated this unit. And then they're going to go 1, Oh, here we go again. Well, the stacks pick up. 1 into 19. Again, the Italians will decline. 2 into 17. 3 into 16. 4 into 7. 5 into 8. And then they will land at... I gotta zoom in because I can't read it. Nantes. And they'll go ahead and incur their sorties and just stay here for now because there isn't a lot else they can do. If they go and grab either one of the other the garrison units that are in cities, it's just giving the Italians to spend a production point, get a willpower. Since I'm so low on willpower, I really can't afford to do that. The idea here is the Nantes one will actually strategically redeploy into 3211 and hope the Germans don't kill them. Germans probably will because they're -1 net. I'm hoping to be able to have my aircraft at least with 1 sortie each to fight this because the Germans can just overrun the aircraft at this point. And then I have 1 unit that I can build in my faction card for the French. So he will be building that in Toulouse. Toulouse? I don't know how to pronounce that. I don't know how to pronounce French words. I have German background. My last name, if I said it, would definitely be, if you see up here in the grid here, if you see when I'm rolling dice. Where is it? Go up and look at look at my last name and you know why I have a German heritage. So that's pretty much what the French can do. They can't really attack anything. They're going to try and hang on by the skin of their teeth with their 5 will points. We'll have to see if that works or not. I don't think it will. The British will activate this convoy and fleet. They're going to go ahead and move into Calais. They have to stay in Calais to try and defend it for the French. So they'll each incur a sortie. Oh, come on now. The British Air Force doesn't really have a whole lot to do here. So they're just going to sit here and recover sorties, I think. This is always a risk, but I think it'll work for at least a turn. So I'm going to go ahead and run Force H into Malta. 1, 2. Do the French want to intercept me in Sea Zone 19? Or not the French, the Italians. They're +4. I'm a 0. If you take a look, I think the worst they can get is a 5, which is like a 50-50 chance that I take 2 sorties to their 1. And then I'd be at minuses going forward. I think I'm going to save that and wait till they're sitting in Malta. So they go ahead and move into 22. At this point, again, like I said, I'm more worried about getting my supplies through North Africa than anything. So I'm going to let the Commonwealth go there. The only thing else that the British really could try to pull off, they do need to move these garrison units that are sitting over here in Palestine. Thank God that we don't have a pro-Axis Baghdad. Otherwise, I'd have to have one over there garrisoning things. I'm trying to do a quick count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can get 1 to there, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I could go there too. I could have them all lined up in Cairo and the Nile. I think I'm only going to send one. I'm going to leave the one that's in Hevia there for the moment. Because I only have 16, and I'm going to have 2, 3, 5, 8, 11. Now I have 16, so if I move them, I won't be able to regroup everybody. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do it now. We'll move the 9th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then move up to the Nile in the swamp there. They are a -1 net, but anybody attacking them will be -2. So, and next turn I have my tanks markers if I need it. So that's a pretty good defensive spot there. Question is do I want to get a little aggressive here and try to push the Italians out of El Alamein? It would be a +2 net to 0. I don't think it really hurts me at this point. I have the points to spend, so I might as well spend them. So I'm going to activate the Western Desert Force. Oh, not the Med Fleet. Where's Western Desert Force? There he is. He's going to go 1 across the river on the rail line, and then attack for 1, 2, 3. He starts with 10. So he spent 1 to come across, and then 1, 2, 3. I'm going to attack that space like 3 times. The Italians have nothing that they can add. The British do have a tanks marker, so they're going to go ahead and use it now to try and get the maximum points. So they put the tanks marker here. So now the British are +3, +1 because they're British, +2 for their tanks. And then -1 because they're attacking rough terrain. So they're +2 to Italians. The Italians 0. The British roll a 2 + 2 is a 4. Oh boy. The Italians roll a 2. A 4 to a 2, if I remember right, is it's a retreat. So we kicked them out of El Alamein. The Italians will back up a space. The Western Desert Force will take that. We will go put the tanks marker back on the turn track. I'm going to zoom in again so it's a little bit easier to see what I'm doing down here. Golly gee, I have 6 movement points left. Let's attack the 11th again. Now we're only +1. So it's +1 to 0. Let's see how we do. Oh boy, a 1 + 1 is a 2. Oh joy. And a 3 from the Italians. That's a diamond. The question arises is, can I, taking a quick look at the combat results table, I could attack him again at +1. At +1, the best I can get is a 2. And the best he can get is a 6. The worst he can do is attack or stop me. So I can't lose a step, so it's worth it to just go ahead and spend up the movement points. So there's another 2 to attack him. +1 to 0. The British roll. Don't need the combat results table. I need to roll my dice, don't I? The British rolled a 5. +1 is a 6. Yay. They have a net 6. And the Italian answer is a 6. So a 6 to a 6 is a diamond. And the British will spend their last 2 for the last attack. And the British roll a 5 again. +1 is a 6. And the Italian answer is a 4, which I believe is a DR. Let me double check. A 6 to a 4 is a DR. So the Italians must retreat. The Italians will retreat to this hex over the ridge and through the woods. To good defensive terrain we go. So now the British will be -1 again to try and get by them. So delay tactics essentially. The British really want to just stay where they're at because of that -1 terrain. I don't want to get too aggressive here, just in case. So a couple of other things I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and move the 2nd convoy into Port Zaid, and then I'm going to move the 10th Infantry over land. Well, actually, I'll just go ahead and activate the 10th Infantry and do it as a naval move. So spend the production point either way. And so I'll just end up here. Let's see, I'm activated, so I should put that there. And then the convoy will have a sortie. And like that. Okay. Or do I want to move him on down into Suez? I think I'll move him on down into Suez rather than by a naval movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Reason being is I really want him sitting on a convoy in case I need to run over to Kuwait. Like if we suddenly get a pro-German in Baghdad for some reason, somehow, like through a failure on my roll or something. So yeah, we want to make sure that we have a quick reaction force, so to speak, to at least go over there and garrison that place and keep the Iraqis from taking it completely. Bad enough that they would get a port on that sea zone, but I can probably take it away from them over time. So that's my moves. I have to go incur sorties here, wherever the convoy is. Is it the top unit? Yes, it's the top unit. So the convoy picks up a sortie here to keep the... Oh, 2 sorties. That's interesting. The British will move fighter command. Let's see, I need to do some... I want to do some dancing here. I want this airplane. Yeah, we'll just move fighter command into 2711, I guess. That's closest hex. And take an extra sortie on it. That way I only have to send 1 supply for the BEF, and I have sorties on the airplanes that I can spend to defend them if they try to go ahead and attack them. So, boom, boom. Oh, and then I have to go do the... Why didn't I do the Middle East when I was in the Middle East? Now I have to go back to the Middle East. I have 3 units, and I really don't want to have anybody be at low supply, do I? Do I care? No, this guy here. So I'm just going to get rid of the moves and the activations. I think I'm going to have the 10th go ahead and go to low supply. He'll, out of Jerusalem or Cairo, someplace. He's going to go to low supply, so I only have to incur 2 sorties. So I'm going to put 1 on the Port Said one and 1 on the Suez one, so they're both at 2. Makes it easier to try and replenish them. And I'm pretty much done. Malta's always in supply. The Italians are not going to intercept my supply attempts, I think. I don't know. I'm interested in people's opinion. Would you go ahead and throw the Italian fleet recklessly at this to try and push it up to 6 sorties so that it couldn't bother you? Or would you try and keep your fleets whole? That's an interesting dilemma, isn't it? You know something? I'm going to try and be aggressive with the Italian fleets. Let's try this. So the 2nd fleet will intercept the Force H, who is at -1, so he's only a plus. He's normally +2 for British, +2 because he's a carrier, -1 because of the sortie. The Italians are at a 0, so the Italians are trying to intercept his supply trace. They roll a 2. And Force H rolls a 2 + 3, which is a 5. Combat results table. A 2 to a 5 is an AS plus 2, so the interception did not work. I take 2 sorties, he takes 1. Where did the second fleet go? And I think we're just going to stop there because I can't. I'd have to intercept with the fleet down here, and I'm going to need it to try and run the convoys, I think. So that didn't work out. I was hoping for a 1-to-1 split for a couple so I could get him above 2. If I can get him up to 3 or more, then I'm winning, but not until then. Took a quick drink there, checking around. I believe that's all we have to do for the Western Allies. I have everything is in supply. I have made a successful counterattack and recaptured Dijon. I have landed North African troops in Le Havre and Nantes, and I will soon be building something in Toulouse. So we are attempting to try and cobble together a defensive line here. The first mobile moved into Vichy to slow down the first Panzer. We'll just have to see if this works or not. And then we go on to the Russian operations phase. Boom, 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 where are we? Over here. I don't think there's a lot for the Russians to do. They still have the debate between Kiev and Minsk on which one should be garrisoned. Minsk is closer. Kiev's more important to me. It's a rail junction and a factory. Minsk is just a city. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, I think this air unit is in the wrong place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, he's got to be close enough to build this. So I'm going to move this air unit up here from 2245 to 2244. It'll incur a sortie. The Russians have more than enough production points to take the sortie off, so I'm not going to bother. And I think that's 2, 3, 4, 5. Should guard these 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Guard the 3 southern and Kiev. The swamps take care of themselves. And that's about it, I think. Trying to keep out of German aircraft range as much as possible. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So make them have to move to me. 7. Yep. So that's what I'm going to do. And we're done with the Soviets' operation phase. Everything's in supply. There is nobody with a no supply marker on them. Replacements. The Axis will spend 9 to take them down to 5. That's the Germans. They're going to go out and reset their aircraft. The Italians have 8 points. So they're going to reset their convoy for sure. For 3. 1, 2, 3. They've got 5 left. They can either do a fleet or their other aircraft. I think they're going to go for their aircraft. 1, 2, 3. For their aircraft. Just seems like that's going to become far more important here shortly. And that's the Axis replacements. The West has some replacements. The French will spend 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6 to get their aircraft down to 4 sorties. Soon to be 5 when the Germans run over top of them. Not a lot I can do about it. And then they don't have anything that's reduced to be increased. So the French are pretty much done. The Russians don't have anything. They would have spent their things to bring back their airplane. With 30 production points, I don't worry about the Russians at this point. Commonwealth. Geez, what do I do? I have 12, which means I can spend 7. I'm not going to touch the Force H. It's too expensive. I can only spend 7, huh? I don't have anything to build. So I could take off aircraft. I think I'm going to do fighter command, and then I'm going to also do the one of the convoys. Clear that up in the Middle East. 4 convoy is what I fixed. Okay, and that was 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they have enough for production for diplomacy. And the Soviets don't have any replacements. So upgrades, no, we don't have any. Mobilization. The Axis could mobilize some militia, but then they wouldn't be able to do diplomacy, and they think diplomacy is more important at this point. The Western faction has nothing. Oh, yes, they do. They have the French. I forgot, I have the French. The French may build an infantry, and it must go in Toulouse to complete my flimsy defense line. It is very, very flimsy. Very likely for me to just die in place. And that is the mobilization of the West. Soviets don't have anything to build. Diplomacy phase. So here we are. The Germans will spend their 5 to pull from the cup and see what happens. They have a lot of pro-Axis markers in there. There's 1 bad thing, 6 no events, and like 4 pro-Axis and a political success. So it's almost 50-50 that they get something good. And they got a pro-Axis. They're very happy about this because they can go. One of the things that's been nagging me a bit is the fact that Bucharest might go poof. I'm going to put that in the diplomacy box for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate Romania. I will put the will markers. It's on 4, I think. Oh no, they start at 6. Okay. Wow. That's cool. Their production marker will only be at 1 because the Russians stole one of my factories. Paranoia sets in with the Romanians. Not worried about the Russians right now. I am more worried about something like Hungary going off, so I'm going to put 1 army over there. And the other 2 will... he always goes into that port. And this guy will stay in capital for now. I just want to have an army to possibly help the Germans taking on Hungary or Yugoslavia if the British suddenly get them. And then what I can do is I can hit this here, and then I can take both of those markers and put them in the stack, which is what I was trying to do. Now we go on to the West. Yes, the Commonwealth is going to try again. They probably shouldn't. Last time I did this, I pulled a political failure. So let's see if I can maybe get rid of some of these political success things. Pull another one. I got a political success. Wow, that's interesting. So, where do I want to go with this? I could put it in Spain to try and keep that from German hands. That's a thought. The other thing is to do, try and play games in the Balkans, drop something in like Yugoslavia. Can I? I can't drop it in Yugoslavia. It's more than one sea zone away from something I own. So that won't work. Can't put it in Yugoslavia. So I guess I'm just going to go ahead and put a British thing in Spain. Not so much to really try and get it as to keep it from going Axis. And knowing this, the Russians are like, well, if I pull a pro, it's going to be an Axis marker, which will cut down their ability to activate Finland and maybe even force them to have to attack Hungary. So I'm going to also pull from the cup. And I got a no event. So that is the end of the diplomacy phase. Victory check, they have not conquered Germany yet. End of turn phase. We go to the turn track and the faction card. And first thing we'll do is we'll just take the French units here, move them into the mobilization box. As we move the turn marker, the British get their tanks back, French get their tanks back, and the British get another ground support. And the Italians get back their tanks. And the Germans get back their surface naval action. And that is the end of the July 1940 turn. France is hoping for some very bad die rolls from the Germans. As you can see, there's not a lot of French units left in France. We will have to see what happens next time. This is Dren 608. Thank you for watching the rest of this turns playthrough. This is the Me, Myself, and I campaign playthrough of the main event, and we will see you next time.